Hi, this is Joel Johnson with Johnson Brunetti, and today I want to talk very briefly about some simple concepts when it comes to putting together a financial plan. I think for the most part people make this way too complicated. We've seen people come into our office and they've got these big binders, 80, 100, 120 pages, and they call it a financial plan. And it is a financial plan, but the problem is it's so complex that clients and prospective clients that see those, not from us, but from other advisors, tend to become overwhelmed. It takes so long for them to go through the information that it sort of freezes them into inactivity. They don't know what to do first. And quite frankly, no matter how detailed a financial plan is, if you don't have enough confidence to act on it, if it isn't simple enough to take small steps forward, maybe big steps, but one step at a time, it doesn't do you any good. Who cares how brilliant the plan is? If nobody implements the plan, it doesn't do anybody any good. So I want to talk about what is a basic financial plan, and then I want to give you a concrete concept that has to do with when you're taking money out of a retirement account. What is a financial plan? At the basic level, a financial plan is about you deciding where are you now and where do you want to go. And most people need help to figure that out. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? Stephen Covey, the great author and organizational expert that worked with so many businesses out there a few years back, always talked about begin with the end in mind. And so many financial advisors, they get clients in and they obsess about the investments. Do you own the right fund? Do you own dividend-paying stocks? Should we buy or sell this stocks? They use all these complicated words like standard deviation and asset allocation, and they lose the basic fact about people want to get to a destination, and the question is where are they now and what do they need to do to get to that destination? Again, Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. So when you do a financial plan, it's real simple. Where do you want to go? Where are you now? And how do we get to where you want to go? And there's a few ingredients that I think you need. You need a retirement income plan. You need a risk assessment of where you are right now. You need to think about your dreams and the dangers of you realizing those dreams. And we're not going to talk about that today. That's going to be in another video, and you can find that video in some of our other resources here at Johnson Brunetti. Today I want to talk about the fact that when you get to retirement, and let's pretend just for a minute if you're not in retirement that you're in retirement, and if you are in retirement, this is a good way to do a reset. So when you're in retirement, how do you structure your income, your investments in a way to serve your income needs so that you minimize the risk as much as we possibly can minimize the risk, and you can relax and know that you have checks coming in every month to meet all your goals. And I want to talk to you about this bucket strategy. And many of you have heard about the bucket strategy. And most people think of the bucket strategy as we have a short-term bucket, we have a medium-term bucket, we have a long-term bucket. But if I went to my wife Wendy and I said, honey, we need to have a bucket strategy for our retirement income, she wouldn't know what we're talking about, and she would think it's a gimmick, because she kind of thinks a lot of things that I have are gimmicks, you know, my workout strategies and my meditation and things like that. So she would think it's a gimmick, but it's really, really important that you understand this. Now, for those of you that understand the bucket strategy, just hang in there with me, because it's always good to revisit the fundamentals. So let's say we're about to take income, or we're taking income, and we want to do a reset because of what's going on out there in the world. And we want to make sure that we have consistent income. We don't take too much risk with our investments, but at the same time, we take enough risk. We're exposed enough to equities, whether that means equity ownership in real estate or equity ownership in stock, that we keep up with inflation. Because again, the danger that a lot of us face is not getting enough current income, it's having our income keep up with inflation as the cost of living goes up. So this bucket strategy, what is it? So we believe a great strategy, not for everybody, but for many people, is to divide your income up into three different buckets. We've got a short-term bucket here, 1 to 3 years. So let's make sure this bucket serves your income needs for the next 1 to 3 years. We've got this medium-term bucket, which would be 4 to 8 years in my example here. And then we've got a long-term bucket, which is 9 years out until the rest of your life. And the reason we want to divide the money up is because then we can take different investment strategies with the different buckets. And the reason that is helpful, once again, is within those strategies, if we have different risk levels, then we can keep up with inflation, but at the same time not worry about our current income. Why would we want to do that? Because when the market goes like this, we don't want to be taking money out of the market. That is called selling low. And you want to buy low and sell high. So by creating a bucket strategy, it alleviates the concern that we're going to sell assets when they're at their low. It allows us to wait for the recovery to happen, okay, because we've got that short-term money. Let's go over how we would invest this money. So for the next 1 to 3 years, let's say I need $10,000 a month for 3 years, okay? That's $360,000, right? $10,000 a month times 36 months is $360,000. So in this bucket strategy, we're going to put enough to generate $360,000 of income for the next 3 years. And typically I'm going to have very low risk assets there, right? And so I might only earn a 3 to 4% rate of return, hypothetically. Maybe I'm going to have a lot of fixed income. Maybe I'm going to use some kind of an insurance product, or maybe I'm going to have dividend paying stocks, which probably are not the case for this bucket. But I want to have enough money to earn a little bit of interest and generate $360,000 of income for that $10,000 a month. Now, I don't need $360,000 to pay me $360,000 of income out over 3 years because I'm going to earn interest on some of the money. So let's say in this case, just again, hypothetically speaking, I'm going to put $320,000, so 320, okay, I'll draw it up here, in this bucket. And that's going to give me $10,000 a month for the next 3 years. Why? Because I'm going to earn a little bit of interest, okay? And again, I don't know if that's the exact numbers here. I'm giving you an example, okay? That money's going to be invested very low risk. Very low risk. On a risk scale of 1 to 100, this might be a 20, okay? Really low risk. I've got this medium-term bucket. Now, because I know that I'm going to leave this money alone for 4 years, I'm not going to take any money out, I can invest it differently because I don't have to worry as much about selling at a low. So for this medium-term bucket, again, wanting to continue on my $10,000 a month, also understanding that the cost of living goes up, right? So now my $10,000 a month might need to increase a little bit, but I've got what, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 years of income there at $10,000 a month. So that's 60 months. And let's say I want to protect against inflation, so I'm actually going to put $600,000 in that bucket, okay? So now I've got $600,000 in this bucket, okay? That's going to grow a little bit, all right? But I also want to give myself a raise above the $10,000 a month I'm starting with. And so now I've got enough money there, assuming a reasonable rate of return, okay, to pay out my next 5 years of income after this is done. So once again, just to recap so far, I've got my short-term bucket. I'm going to take very low risk. I don't want to worry about that income. I've got my mid-term bucket. I can take some risk with that because, again, I want to grow the money in the next 3 years, okay? So maybe I have a combination of, oh, I don't know, 40% stocks, 60% bonds, and maybe I can get a reasonable rate of return on that of 4.5% or 5%, but then that's going to satisfy my needs for the 5 years after the 3 years are over. So now I've got 8 full years of income, right? I've got 8 years of income, and I don't have to worry too much about that income. In fact, planned properly, in regular circumstances, you might even have a little bit of money left in that bucket at the end of that, at the end of this 5-year period, okay? So again, just to review, short-term, medium-term. What that gives me the ability to do is leave my long-term bucket alone for 9 years. That means I can take more risk. I can expose myself more to investments that tend to keep up with inflation and that had a higher rate of return than these shorter buckets. Traditionally, that would be stocks or ownership in companies. Could be private investments, but for most people it's stocks, or certain types of institutional real estate, where I can get a higher reasonable rate of return, and the key is there, I don't have to sell early. One of the reasons why insurance companies invest so much money in real estate, and they can do so, is they don't tend to have a lot of short-term assets. If they know they buy a building, and when they buy that building, they don't have to sell that building for 10, 15, 20 years, they don't mind giving up the liquidity because they're going to give a higher rate of return. So these are the kind of things we think about in this long-term bucket. Now, if I put money in that long-term bucket, I can leave it alone for a long time. I might have 2 short-term downturns in the market in 9 years. I'm certainly probably going to have one, historically speaking, but it gives me the ability to leave that money alone and let it come back. So this might be my biggest bucket. And again, I don't have the exact math here, I'm just giving you an example, but maybe I put $2 million. Whoops, got a comma in the wrong place there. Maybe I put $2 million in that bucket, and I leave it alone to grow for 9 years, okay? At an 8% rate of return, that's going to double by the time I hit it in 9 years, okay? 8% might be a little aggressive. We don't usually plan for 8% in our financial plans. We like to be conservative and surprise on the upside. But again, now I've got money that I can leave alone for 9 years. How would you feel if you got to retirement and you had a plan where you said you don't have to worry at all about the first 3 years? We're going to be real conservative, okay? After that 3 years of income, we've got some money that we have some equity exposure, some money that can go up and down, but we've also got a bunch of money in here that's real steady, and now we've got that next 5 years of income provided for, okay? And then after that, we've got this money that's 9-year money. And for most people, they hope to leave some of that alone for kids and grandkids. We don't have grandkids yet, maybe we will someday. But again, this is your bucket strategy. And the point of this is not to be technical or fancy or gimmicky. The point of this is to give you high confidence and remove some of the fear of not having enough income or having to change your lifestyle because the markets go down. I think the ideal retirement plan is a retirement plan where you have a very high degree of confidence that you don't have to change your lifestyle based on short-term things that are going on. There are some people out there right now, during this period that we're in, that do not have to worry at all about their future income. There are people out there right now that have a high degree of confidence and have very little fear. On the other hand, there are a lot of people that are panicking right now. Maybe it's because they don't have a financial plan, maybe it's because they don't have enough money, but there are a lot of people out there with a lot of money, and they have enough money if it was just structured properly. And many people are worried because it's either not structured properly or they don't have somebody helping them make sure that they have confidence because they can rely on a plan. So again, our 3-bucket strategy, short-term, mid-term, long-term, just a simple concept. Remember, you've got to go back to that ideal financial plan. Hopefully every one of you has one where you begin with the end in mind. You look at what's in the future, what you want in an ideal world out there in the future, and you bring it right back to today and you say, where do I want to go? Where am I today? And how do I get there? So I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Again, we want to talk about the ideal financial plan, but give you a little strategy for you to get your thinking about your own money. Have a great day.